How are you?
I'm good, girl. Trying to get this thing straight, y'all. I am sorry it has taken so long, but we are here. We are here. We are here.
Yes. Season 2, episode 1.
Full effect. Full effect.
So how's your summer been?
It's been a summer, girl. It has been a summer like no other. Like really. I can honestly say I have not experienced anything like this before, but I can also say that I have sensed the amazing grace of God, like over and above and beyond anything I could like ask or think or imagine. Like it's like I have just felt him kind of like carrying me over these past couple months. Like, I got you, girl, I got you. So it's been a good summer. It's definitely been a different summer, but
Yeah.
it's been a good summer. Yeah. How about you?
Well, my summer was super slow in comparison to how our summers are normally.
Yeah.
Um, it was a lot of, let's catch up on some academics. Let's read. Let's go outside, and I built a garden.
All right.
A garden, so that was kind of interesting. I finished my second book, and um, the book club was awesome this summer. The Becoming Eva book club, she's still there, by Crystal Evans Hurst. So
Shout
a lot
out
of
to our
reading,
faithful. Yeah.
a lot of like spending time with my kids, which is great. It was just kind of like normally we can go to like different, museums and activities, and it was just very laid back. Let's do some arts and crafts and a lot of Zoom parties.
Yes, yes. Zoom has definitely been our friend. If you don't know that, I don't know where you've been, but I'm sure Zoom is like everybody's friend these days.
Yes.
That's awesome. Wow. Good stuff, though. I mean, I would say more than anything, I have really felt this year, in addition to the summer, has really been a time of personal development for me, physically, career wise, business wise, like just pursuing the different things that God has put in my heart to do. You inspired me. I started writing my first book this summer, and I'm almost done with my first pass. So that's been really good just to be faithful and seeing stuff come to fruition. I'm like, wow, God, and of course, He would choose this time to do it. I'm like, okay, well, you still blessing, so let me just keep it moving. Been gardening as well. It's great now because I started gardening as a part of my birthday celebration back in April, and now I'm seeing the fruit of my labor. I'm like, yay! I see peppers and tomatoes and basil, and yeah, it's been fun. And it's amazing because like literally like homegrown organic food just tastes completely different. Like you can
Tastes so
taste
good.
different. It does. So girl, I don't know. Maybe we getting ready because ain't no telling what's coming in this world in these next couple months. So, but let's get into it. Let's get into it. We got a lot to catch up on. We got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy summer for our country, for the world, for our state, for our city, for our people. Like it's just been busy. So let's dive in. This episode is called Police, Politics, and Pandemic because literally it's all three of those things have been at a crossroad this summer, and it's kind of made the perfect storm, if you will, for a lot of different things. So let's talk first and foremost about the police aspect, and we'll also, coin that as social injustice. So a lot has happened this summer regarding police brutality and social injustice. So I'll ask you first, like, what was your response when things started popping off, around the spring, early summer, and how are you feeling about, how our country, how our culture is handling it?
Well, being a Black woman, married to a Black man,
Mm-hmm.
um, my dad, my both my dads, my brothers, I was thinking so much about them. And just like my children, and it's just weighed very heavily on me this summer. witnessing and watching these things play out.
Yeah.
Even with the Breonna Taylor situation, it's like it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, you know, to be Black in America. It's a scary thing, and you know we have to have real conversations with our family members and friends, and it's been really tough for us. And some of my family members have been able to go out and protest.
Yeah.
Of course, with everything going on with COVID and you know, me expecting again.
I was waiting. I was like, "Are you gonna share the news?" Hey.
I did not, you know, want to, you know, go outside and really get exposed to, you know, other people and stuff like that. But it has been weighing heavily on my spirit this whole time. And it's not even just about, you know, the Black people. I think it's just police in general. And it's not every police, but I even remember at my old school at South Paulding High School, one of my students, and I'll never forget her, Kylie, she and her friend Isabella were killed in a car accident by a Georgia State parole.
Oh my.
And yeah. And so both young, beautiful white teenagers, and there were 2 white males in the car as well. They survived. They had a lot of injuries, but the girls did not survive. And, you know, with going through the justice system, of course he lost his job, but it was a mistrial. So there was still no accountability from the police officer because he was driving 91 miles per hour and he hit their car. He didn't have his sirens on. He wasn't chasing anybody. And, you know, no justice was served. And so after the mistrial, I think 6 months later, he ended up running for like mayor or something. And I was just like, wow, it's just like no accountability when stuff like that happens, even, you know, culturally, like white, Black, I just think there needs to be police reform in general.
Okay. And that actually was kind of leading to where I was gonna go next with like thoughts on defunding the police. And I mean, there's been a lot of dialogue on that, and some people, you know, have gone as far as to say we don't need police. I don't believe that. I do believe we need law and order in this country. You know, God is a God of order, you know, and just like you were saying, not every police is a corrupt police officer, you know, but I do believe we need to be intentional about how we're funding and compensating police officers. And I would say this, I believe police officers need to be compensated well, just like I believe teachers need to be compensated well, because, you know, both of y'all, and I'm throwing the teachers in there too, y'all dealing with some crazy stuff. Like, when I say crazy stuff, like you have to navigate through so much, you know, educationally and socially and mentally and emotionally. There are all kinds of things that people are dealing with that may cause them to behave a certain way. And you have to peel through and get through all of those layers before you can establish order as a police officer, or even, you know, educate as a teacher. And so I believe that those two groups in particular are not compensated nearly as much as they should be or could be. But I will also say this, I believe that our police need to be trained to be sensitive to those very issues and to not always respond with a gun, you know. And honestly, if I'm honest, like you've seen situations where they have responded in a they have responded without taking someone's life. Usually it involves people that don't look like us. So that's what makes me upset, because I feel like just the color of someone's skin has become a threat, or is a threat. It just has been over, you know, centuries, been a threat to people that don't look like us. And that's what's so disheartening. That's what's so frustrating, you know.
Yes.
And if I'm honest, when all this stuff first started going down, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't taken aback. I was numb. And I hate to say that, but I was, because I've experienced it for so long, not only with people I don't know and people that are in the news, but with family members. And so it's like I'm used to it. And so I did not expect there to be any type of change. I did not expect there to be any type of rise up, aside from the normal protests that we may experience for like a couple weeks or a month after. I do believe COVID definitely kind of really highlighted the social injustice that has been ingrained in this country for so long. And so I do believe that was part of God's sovereignty, as far as having us all be able to focus on it and to actively take steps towards it. But when people did start taking steps towards it that didn't look like me, I was still kind of unfazed, because I was like, that's great and all, but how long is it going to last? How long is this going to matter to you? Because this isn't just a trend for me. This isn't just something that is, in style or convenient to talk about, or a current event. This is what, our lives are steeped in and have been steeped in, for centuries, for generations. And so for me, it really took a long time to realize, okay, something different may be happening here, which I do believe something different is happening here. Mm-hmm. But at the same time can only really tell and answer that question for us fully, because people have to be consistent about this. I'm thinking about companies that are taking strategic initiatives in this area, which is great. But I need you to be consistent in this area, and I need you to put your money where your mouth is, which means I need you to invest in educating and hiring people that don't look white. You know what I mean? Like, I need you to invest in that, and to continue to invest in that, not to meet a quota, not to look a certain kind of way, or to prove that you're on par with what people are talking about. But I need you to genuinely care about this. I need a hard work to happen. And that's been my prayer, just across the board, and I mean, I can even go to the other end of the spectrum, with our African-American brothers and sisters, where it's like, I mean, my husband and I were talking about this, how it's like the real test will come when it's like, when we are in places and positions, places and positions of authority, how do we treat people that don't look like us? Because we can't go ahead and flip the tables and then start talking crazy to other people, or treating other people crazy either, for payback. Like, that's not God, that's not Jesus. So really, I'm asking God to like check all of our hearts, all of our motives, all of our intentions, and just bring us back to Him, to like use this as an opportunity to draw us closer to Him. So it's interesting. We're definitely in some interesting times, like, definitely.
Yes, and I don't agree either with the defunding of the police, because when you get into a car accident, you flipped upside down, who are you going to call? Who are you going to call when somebody is breaking into your house? Who are you going to call? Like, no, we can't defund the police. Like, seriously, like, we need them. We need the law and order.
We do, but we need them in tune with, with the community though. So like, the communities that they're policing, those kids need to know them, you know what I'm saying? And they need to know those kids, so that they can really understand when something is a threat and when something is not.
And definitely need more training with how to handle like people with the mental illnesses, and, just like even with Rayshard Brooks, how he was drunk and fell asleep at the Wendy's. Obviously he wasn't in his right state of mind. It should have never ended with him being shot and killed, for falling asleep at a Wendy's. That's unacceptable to me, and very disheartening.
We got to figure it out. We have to figure it out. So what do you think though, the path forward for this whole era that we're in regarding social injustice? I mean, we got everybody involved. Everybody's talking about it. What do you think the path forward should be? What does it look like?
And I've been thinking about that. Like, how do we effectively make change? Because I know people are out there protesting, and that can only do so much. We have to definitely be advocates and go out there and vote.
Absolutely.
Be united, and we cannot be divided by our race, by our politics, your political affiliations, all of that stuff. And then we have to stand up for when we do see injustices. You have to stand up. You can't just be a bystander, waiting on the sidelines with your camera phones, and you have to stand up and do something if you're witnessing it. As a community, I mean, I don't. It's just awfully sad that some of these things are still happening in today's age.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely right, though, as far as voting. And I'll be the first to say I have never been really into politics. I mean, I've always voted, but it's always been, I kind of equated to like eating your vegetables. Like, okay, let me go and educate myself about who's running for office so that, I can prepare to vote. But like really being knowledgeable about who are in positions of authority, not just on a national level, but especially on a local level, honestly, because that's where we're immediately impacted, where we're directly impacted. So really taking the time to be engaged and knowledgeable in that area, definitely voting, definitely taking the census, because that's how laws and things of that nature are determined, And then I will also say too, keeping the conversation going, because I know for a lot of people, and not just people that aren't of color, but for a lot of people, these conversations are uncomfortable because we've internalized them for so long. So it almost feels weird to talk about, okay, let's talk about how people of color have been treated in this country. Let's talk about, microaggressions and social injustice. Let's talk about it. It really feels weird at times to do that because it's a muscle we haven't had to use. And so really digging into that and leaning into that, despite the discomfort, having those conversations with people that look like you and people that don't look like you, because it's important to keep this stuff out in the open, because in the dark is where it festers and where it grows, And then I also want to charge the church, because I feel like, if I'm honest, the church is still very divided when it comes to social injustice. And it's important that we become unified if God is really going to, impact the situation, because my concern is not with everybody. I feel like everybody's doing a great job right now as far as coming together and saying, okay, this isn't right, this needs to change. But after, it's like we're fighting to get from the red back into, to zero, to level set. But what happens once we're on that even plane? You have all these other agendas and all these other ideologies right now that people have that, conflict with one another. And so once you get to a level playing field where you're like, okay, it's agreed, everyone should be treated equal, everyone should be treated fairly. Okay, then you have all these other ideologies and philosophies that people have been pushing. And at the end of the day, if the church does not take a stand, then Christ is going to be left out of the equation. And that's not good. Like, I mean, literally you go from one end of the spectrum to the other. And so I definitely believe the church has to become a united front as well, so that we can really carve a path forward. Like, what is it going to look like, for God's kingdom to come, on earth as it is in heaven. So all that to say, girl, we're in some interesting times. They're exciting times, though. If I'm honest, I'm excited to see, God's hand in the earth. I feel like, the earth is like literally groaning, and people are being shaken up in so many different ways that it really does force you to kind of figure out, okay, what happens beyond this life, and what is bigger or more important than what I see, because there is so much more. And I think at the end of the day, God is just trying to get our attention. So interesting times, definitely. All right, girl, you got anything else on the police aspect before we dive into
politics?
Girl, we go, it's like you going from one fire to the other, because politics is off the chain too, off the chain.
And I'm not big either, like you.
Yeah. And it's sad, because I feel like most people of color aren't, if I'm honest. But I think some of that comes from the fact that we didn't necessarily feel like our vote counted. We didn't necessarily feel like our opinion mattered, because the machine was so big. It's like, okay, how are we going to impact this? But we don't have any choice at this point. We do not have any choice. So Yeah, so politics it is. So, all right, let's dive in. Everybody got something to say about this current presidential administration. Everybody does. Do you have any thoughts on our current presidential administration and even how they've handled or not handled some of the things that we're dealing with now, like COVID-19, like social injustice?
Well, to me, the current administration has done a pretty poor job at addressing the social injustice and at responding to COVID-19. Just thinking back when it all first went down with the COVID and how, we were so quick to reopen everything. And I was like, no way, we're still quarantining in this house.
No, that's right.
That's crazy. Like, why are we reopening like now? And the mask wearing, why wasn't that like mandated? It still isn't mandated everywhere. Like things like that. President Trump was late in even making mask wearing important, even saying it as a leader out loud. And I was like, this is craziness. Like people out here in the grocery stores and without wearing masks and they stand all close to you. Like, OMG, back up. Where is your mask? Do you not know what's going on? And like, it's just crazy. Like the numbers are just continuously going up. And like, just like his lack of compassion that he has in his last interview that I watched. And he was like, when the interviewee was like, or the interviewer said, well, what about the numbers and all the people that are losing their loved ones, like the numbers? And he said, it is what it is. I was like, what? That is crazy. Like, how can you say that when someone has lost a parent, a brother, a sister? Like, how can you be so, unempathetic? It is what it is. Like, somebody has lost their life, 170,000 plus people. Like that's crazy. And it's still not being endorsed to wear your mask. It's like not being mandated. Like other stores and businesses are now making it mandatory for some places, but still it's kind of up to the businesses. It's not coming down from the top. Which is crazy to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like, honestly, I kind of feel like these past 3.5 years, I've been in an alternate universe, if I'm honest. Like, I remember the day that I found out that Trump was elected, and I remember waking up the next morning because I didn't stay up to see how the polls were going to pan out and everything. And I remember waking up the next morning and I was like, really? And I was like, well, let me go in my closet and pray. I was just like, let me just go pray. And I really have been in that state ever since, almost in like shock and unbelief, I will say this though, I would not wish this scenario that we're in right now with COVID, even with social injustice on any leader, because he has had to deal with a lot. And as he's trying to deal with stuff, I have been praying with each press conference, like, God, give him strength, give him the words. I know he's dealing with a lot of pressure, but at the same time, there really isn't a lot of emotion. There isn't a lot of empathy. There isn't a lot of compassion. And that was before COVID-19. Honestly, as a matter of fact, before COVID-19, it felt like it was more like just, judgment and condemnation and just like, talking to people crazy and treating people crazy. And which is why I've really been in a state of disbelief. Like, I cannot believe this is happening. Like, and I cannot believe that he has been put in office, but it's crazy. Any world that you're living in where a reality show, basically a reality show star / entrepreneur can, run the United States of America, I'm like, wow, God. So it's been very interesting. So I have not had very many expectations, I should say, regarding this administration, just because I don't feel like the person in leadership is really qualified. But I will say that, you know, I'm still remaining prayerful because I believe God can do anything. So I'm like, if you need to, sadly, if it's at the expense of other people, use it to bring him to you, then do it, Lord, like whatever it takes, you know. But it's been crazy. It really has been crazy. I mean, and even how the handling of the COVID piece, you know, I think at the end of the day, there's been a battle, a tug of war back and forth between, you know, keeping the economy going versus saving people's lives. And sadly, you know, and I you know, as an entrepreneur, I get the keeping the economy going piece, but at the same time, it should never be at the expense of the consumers, basically the people that ultimately are going to pay for the products and services that, you know, you're trying to keep going company wise. And so it's been a crazy time as far as that's concerned. So I have not had much faith in this presidential administration, but they're definitely in my prayers because I would not wish this, you know, this type of responsibility on anyone's shoulders. And honestly, I was praying that same prayer when, you know, when the Obamas were in office. So yeah.
It's a tough position.
It really is. It really is. Okay, so we're on the brink of, you know, 2020 presidential elections and, you know, a potential changing of the guard, number one, but then also, you know, Biden, former VP from the Obama administration, you know, has chosen the one and only Kamala Harris as his VP for the ticket. So what are your thoughts on that?
In general, for this 2020 presidential campaign that's going on right now, I'm hopeful, but with reservations. And I say that because last time, Hillary, she had the majority, the popular vote by like 3 million, and Trump still won because of the Electoral College.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I definitely think Joe Biden's going to get the popular vote for sure. I just really pray that he gets them in the right places.
Yeah.
So that, you know, we have a lot of chaos and a lot of division going on right now in the country. We need someone who's going to unify us as a country and like get this chaotic stuff in order.
Yeah.
And I think Joe Biden is the best candidate for that, based off of what we have seen President Trump do in the last 3.5 years or almost 4 years.
Yeah.
So I am hopeful, but with reservations because I didn't think people were going to vote for Trump.
I sure didn't either.
Yeah. With all that stuff that was coming out, I was like, certainly not. He's not going to. We had women voting for him, and I was like, this is craziness.
But, you know, keep in mind, you're coming off of a double term with the African-American president. So in my mind, I have to remind myself for some people, especially for conservatives, that was like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So they was like, we got to tip the balance all the way back. Even if we got to put a crazy person in office, like, it's like all the way, like we have to take extreme measures. And in this case, I do believe it was extreme, but yeah.
Now we're paying for it. Like, look what's happening. Look at how leading us through this pandemic. Like, this is what's happening. This is the man you all put in office.
Yeah. So what do you think about this being the first African American woman on the ticket, on a primary ticket?
I am so excited and proud of her being the first African American and Asian American woman on a major party ticket. Like it's huge.
It is.
And I'm excited because, you know, my daughters are growing up to witness this. And, you know, when you ask them, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, the possibilities are truly endless. Like, as me as a kid, I would have never thought, like, hey, I want to be a vice president. I want to be president. Like, that would never cross my mind. But, like, for them, you know, it's a possibility.
It is. It is.
So I'm excited to see how everything turns out.
Yeah, super excited for her and super proud, like to see someone that looks like me won the ticket. Of course, there's a lot of conversation about what does she stand for, what are her motives, and then of course too on the other end, there's a lot of conversation about did Biden just pick a Black woman because he wants as much support behind him as possible, and then even the fact of like Biden himself as a candidate, like, are people really confident in him as a candidate, or does he need someone like Kamala to come alongside and energize his campaign? I say yes to all of that, but it does make me wonder what true motives are, because I'm like, of course, everybody is in this trying to create momentum to get Trump out of office, which I'm like, okay, I get that. I understand that. But I want to make sure that they're aligned too, and that it's not just a, perception type thing as well, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see her on that ticket. So,
yes,
hey,
me too. I really do want them to win. But like I said, I have reservations about how, as far as making my prediction of who will actually win, because I predicted that Hillary was going to win. She did not win. And I was just like in shock, like watching it that night, watching the how they highlight the states blue and red. And I was in shock. I was like, oh my goodness, he's about to really win.
Yeah.
And it happened. So
wow. Okay. So I know you already alluded to this. So who do you think is going to win? Do you have a prediction? And you can say who you want, but also who you think is going to win. Just the reality of it.
So it's really hard to predict who's going to win, because like I said, like Trump has some supporters. Like a lot of people are not open to like say that they support him. He has a lot of secret supporters, which is crazy to me.
The mail-in ballot supporters. I
don't see a lot of posts like on social media in support of him, but he still has some supporters out there.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I definitely feel like Biden and Harris will get the popular vote. I just pray that they get them in the right places for the Electoral College. So I don't know. I don't want to make a prediction. Yeah. Who do you predict will win?
Well, let me be clear. I don't think that any one party is the end all be all solution, because everybody, I think both sides have different policies and beliefs and opinions that I agree and disagree with. So I don't necessarily feel like Biden is the solution to Trump. I don't necessarily feel like Trump is the solution for our country either. But I will say that I think it would be great to have a changing of the guard. I think it would be great to see a new administration in the office, to see what they can do and to see if they can kind of get us back on the right track. I don't know if they will, honestly, but I think it would be great to see because I don't want to continue to go in the direction that we're going in now. I really don't. Yeah. I will say this though, and this is a running joke that I have had probably for the past year or so. I really feel like, for all my, Marvel comic people, I do feel like if Trump were Thanos, that this is Avengers Infinity War, not Endgame, Infinity War, where he could potentially snap his fingers and we'd be in another 4 years. I'm just saying. Because I feel like everybody came out the woodworks initially like, I'm going against Trump and I'm going against Trump and I'm going against Trump, like the Avengers. And then, we got it down to, Biden and Kamala and, we'll see what they can do. But I feel like he got 4 rings and about to get that 5th one and be like, that was cute, but I'm about to do another 4 years. We'll see. We'll see. But all that to say,
Possibility
just say,
is.
I'm just saying, I pray that's not the case, but I would not be surprised.
It took all the Avengers.
It's still taking all the Avengers. Yeah.
So yeah. Did you watch the Democratic Convention, National Convention this week?
Yeah, I watched portions of it. I did not watch all of it, but I did watch portions of it.
Listen, they were pulling all of them. President Barack.
Oh yeah.
Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
They were pulling Republicans come and speak at the Democratic Convention.
Well, amen.
Okay. No, they were pulling their people and then pulling up Trump supporters. Yes, this woman was telling everyone her story about her dad that passed away from COVID and how he was an avid Trump supporter. And when Trump, was saying, oh, go back out, it's fine, yada, yada, yada. So he went out to a karaoke bar one weekend with his friends, and 5 days later, he passed away from COVID. Like, he was on a ventilator and everything. And she said the only pre-existing condition was believing Trump, supporting Trump.
Oh God.
I said,
oh God. Well, honestly, I mean, you could say the same thing about Herman Cain. I mean, his number one Black Trump supporter is, rest in peace now, because he want to go to a rally and support. Now, I will say this. I don't blame Trump for that. I blame the people that went out for that, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to put somebody else's opinion over my own common sense. I'm going to need you to have common sense. I'm going to need you to have common sense. Like, for real. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying anyone deserves to get sick, anyone deserves to lose their life over this, but I am saying in this day and age, you cannot trust anyone else's opinion, anyone else's words. You have to stand on your own 2 feet and decide, okay, what is best for me? What is best for my household? Like, for real. Because when Georgia was opening up stuff right and left, like you said, we was like, well, as for me and my house, we're gonna be quarantined. We're gonna be quarantined, like, for real. Because you
order groceries to the house.
Exactly. You cannot trust anyone else's opinion. You got to decide for you, like, what is best for you, and that's on so many different levels. I could go in multiple directions with that, but that's sad. That's really sad.
Yes.
Oh Lord. Wow.
I just thought about that when you were talking about the Avengers. I'm like, well, yeah, we were pulling all the Avengers at the Democratic National Convention this week.
I hope they can pull them rings off before he snapped them fingers. That's all I can say. So yeah. So I would say this: if, let's say, in a, and I won't even say in a perfect world, but if things were to change and Biden-Harris did win, how you think the country would change? Like, do you think? Because I feel like this is a big shift. Can we see enough change in 4 years or 8 years? Like, what do you think will change? If they were to get into office.
Well, I think the first thing that they would need to focus on is COVID, and
absolutely.
Let's put some mandates, and then we probably need to shut down again, probably longer than 2 weeks. Like some of the other countries that shut down early on, like they've got their numbers like super, super low.
Oh yeah.
But us over here, partying, going to barbecues, packed beaches, and all kinds of stuff. Like you need somebody to tell you, no. Yeah. Stay home. Just stay home. Like, I think that's crazy, but I definitely think that will probably be their number one focus. I'm not sure how they're going to go about doing that, but I would probably start with like, hey, let's mandate some masks everywhere out in public. Hey, let's shut down for 4 weeks or something. Like that. We've got to start with getting the COVID stuff under control is number one.
Gotcha. Okay. So hopefully they will take some drastic matters as some drastic steps, I should say, towards addressing COVID, which is priority number one, honestly. And honestly, that has to happen in order for us to really get our economy back on track. I mean, and I know, the flip end of that, of course, businesses being closed and people needing assistance right now with, just financial assistance, period. If they're out of work, I totally get that and understand that, so I know Kamala was, she had some things where she wanted to try to get, more assistance out there, financial assistance, which I think is great as far as the intention behind it. But then also too, we are like trillions of dollars in debt. So really, I think there needs to be a plan for that too, for getting us out of debt, so figuring all those out, because it's like, it can't be a one or the other. It has to be a both and. It really does. So
right.
It's interesting. We'll see. Like, and on the subject of COVID, like, when do you think, well, first of all, do you think things will get back to some semblance of normal, or like, how long do you think it will take for people to really feel comfortable if we, take the necessary steps? How long do you think it'll take for people to like get back out there?
Well, I definitely think it's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
I really don't think things are going to go back to full, like, pre-COVID normal until maybe summer 2021.
Gotcha.
So that's with fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
I think with like flu season getting ready to kick off soon.
Yeah.
The numbers are about to increase again. And then with some people, we're opening schools in some places and face to face. So I definitely think even if children are not getting as sick, they're able to still be systematic and pass it to, their parents or grandparents at home. So I definitely think it's going to be a while because they're still working on the vaccine.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it's going to get back to normal and what is normal going to look like. I don't even know if it's ever going to be fully like normal pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I think the world has kind of changed for.
It is, yeah. And a lot of people, I mean, and in some cases, shifts have taken place where, I mean, companies have had to, change midstream and figure certain things out. And in a lot of cases, I think it's worked to their benefit because it's caused them to be more flexible, more agile, which I think is great. But in some cases where things are working, they may not go back. I mean, I know some companies are like, just stay home. If you're able to get as much, if not more, done working from home, then, stay home. I don't know how the school system is, going to be impacted, because you've got just different social aspects to taking place, where making sure every kid has access to a laptop, to internet, that they have parents that are able to help them, that aren't, essential workers working multiple jobs, just trying to keep a roof over the head, that they have food in their house. There are so many other dynamics that come into play when it comes to our children. So I know there's a lot still being worked out there, but I do believe that there are some things, just having, certain things delivered to your home on a regular basis versus you having to go out and get it. Some of those things may not ever change, just because of the convenience aspect behind it,
That's true.
So it really depends. I don't think though that we will ever get back to 100% how we were before COVID. But I am hoping that we'll be able to, reconvene in like more group settings, soon, because Zoom is great, but I'm a hugger. I love hugging people. I love being in the same space with them and sensing that energy. I love gathering and spending time with people, so those are things that I definitely miss and want to get back to. I love going to concerts. I love going dancing. I love, like, those are things that I'm like, gosh, I would want there to be some restoration of that in the near future. So we'll see. I'm hoping and praying, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be spring of next year, because even if we do have a vaccine, I think people are still going to be like, there's still going to be a large group of people saying, let me see how this goes. Let me see how this works, before I get it, or before I allow my children to get it, or what have you. And so Honestly, I think next year may be a time of trial and error, if you will, and trying to see what works and what doesn't work. And then I think we'll probably get some stability, some real stability, probably in 2022. I hate to say that, but we'll see. We'll see. But let me ask this before we close out: what do you hope doesn't change?
Well, I do like the fact that because of the pandemic, I've been able to spend more time with my family. That has been truly enjoyable, like going
Mhm.
outside and planting flowers with them and just
Yeah.
like, just spending more time with my children outside. It's been nice, like going on more walks
Mhm.
than we we were before, and just I've been able to catch up with old friends that I
Yeah.
hadn't talked to in forever. And so I hope those things stay the same, the
Yeah.
connections that, we were able to reconnect with certain friends and even family members. I hope those things will stay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because it's amazing how stuff like this will cause you to reconnect with people. And I mean, we were just on a Zoom call with family before celebrating some birthdays, and we were like, why didn't we think about doing this before with with family that is not in the same city? Like, even when we were gathering for birthday celebrations or what have you, so it really does kind of has helped us to become more intentional
Mhm.
about spending time with family and friends and celebrating them and treasuring them, acknowledging them, loving on them, checking in with them, But I would say have really enjoyed this pace of life. Like for me, I've always been an advocate for working from home. I worked from home for years my current before getting into the current role that I'm in. So that wasn't a big adjustment for me, but I have appreciated just the extra time that I get back from having to not do that commute. And it's really helped me to hone in on a lot of personal development stuff. I've been getting a lot of writing done. We've been able to promote our business and meet with clients and really just, focus on other things that we wouldn't normally have time to do, like we were talking about the gardening and exercising. I'm able to get out there more and get my steps in and just enjoy the outdoors more, because I really feel like I've gotten back about 3 to 4 hours of my day because I'm not trying to sit in traffic or get to and from and figure out this and figure out that. Like I can literally log off when I'm done and move into my next thing instead of having to physically transition to wherever that is. And so for me, I really hope that opportunity to hone in on and be intentional about developing the other areas of my life, I hope that doesn't change. And honestly, it just boils down to me being consistent and committed to that. Same with with families. I know a lot of families have had an opportunity to sit at the table and eat meals and really see how one another is doing instead of just being caught in the hustle and bustle. Like I pray that we really protect that because it's so important. And although things may not be as slow, if you will, or calm or chill or what have you, as they have been over these past summer months, I pray that we would, still guard and find pockets of time to get that in because it's so, so important.
Yeah.
Important. So, all right. So you ready to move into noble character acknowledgement?
Yes.
Okay.
So for our audience, if you know the woman that you want to recognize, it could be a neighbor, a family member, someone that's out there in the community, showing positive characteristics, being a great role model, then please go to our website and submit their name as a noble character submission. You'll simply go to becomingevatoday.com and click on the tab called Noble Submission and fill in the information. So,
Yeah.
Maya, do you have a noble character that you would like to recognize today?
I do. I do. I think the person that I'm going to acknowledge is because I was really trying to think about like, people that have, in the midst of everything going on this summer, have really focused on trying to equip and encourage and strengthen people in the midst of everything that's going on. And so, first I was thinking of like more of like a societal figure or what have you, but I'm gonna go with someone that hits a little closer to home because they've definitely helped me navigate these summer months. It's a good friend and actually a Spelman sister of mine, Kia Stevens. She is also founder of the organization Entrusted Women. And she actually hosted a virtual conference this summer back in June. And it was amazing, like amazing. And I don't just say that because she's my friend or I know her and have experienced this kind of evolution, if you will. But I say it was amazing because she had to decide right when COVID was really, ramping up and people were, start being sent home and businesses were shutting down. She had to decide whether she was going to move forward with this event in the midst of everything that was going on. And she was like, all right, I'm going to do it, but we're going online. We're moving everything online. And I'm so glad that she moved forward with it because I feel like in a lot of cases, people were kind of waiting to see what would happen instead of really using it as an opportunity to move forward. And she took it as an opportunity to move forward. And the event itself was an opportunity on showing women in particular, women of color in particular, Christian women of color in particular, how to move forward during this time of uncertainty. And it was amazing. We got some incredible insight on how to build your brand, how to, attract people to your voice, how to share your voice and share with other people and really be a source of encouragement during this time. And just the tools and resources that were given during that time were incredible. So I really appreciated that time because I felt like it kind of fueled me forward to not just sit on my hands during this time and see what was going to happen, but to really be like, let me use this as an opportunity to take some steps and to move forward in what I feel like God is calling me to do. So I give a shout out to my friend, to my Spelman sister, Kia Stevens. You are a woman of noble character.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hear so much wonderful stuff about her, and I see your posts on Facebook. So congratulations. For me, based off of our conversation today, I've been seeing a ton of derogatory posts about Miss Kamala Harris. And it's about her sexuality and just a lot of like horrible things that people are posting about her. And it's very disheartening to see and read and hear. Amazon is selling a shirt that's pretty derogatory. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've heard of it.
I just feel like it's so childish of people. And I just, when I'm reading these things, I'm like, I feel like I'm back in high school. Like, why are we not adults? Like, I don't see any evidence about any of these crazy things that they're putting out there, which is one of the reasons why I don't like politics. Because it just gets so personal, and when we're name calling and things, it's like you're losing sight of the purpose of politics. Like, why are we like not uplifting them and like just being mean? Period. And so today I wanted to acknowledge Kamala Harris.
There you go.
Because she is the Democratic vice president nominee for the election. And not only is she a politician, but she's also a lawyer. She serves on the junior United States Senator for California. And she has supported the healthcare reform and the DREAM Act. And she's the first African-American and Asian-American to be on a major party ticket. Absolutely. And I'm super proud of her. And in spite of all the negative things that I keep seeing about her, I just wanted to acknowledge her because it's a big deal that she's out there on the major ticket.
Yeah, and I'm glad you selected her because honestly, I was going back and forth between her and Kia. I was like, and I was like, I want to choose Kia, but I hope that Latoya chooses Kamala because this is an incredible milestone that we need to highlight. Like we really need to highlight. She has accomplished a tremendous amount in a very short amount of time, and so I'm very, very grateful for her to be our Democratic Vice President presidential nominee. I'm really, really grateful for her. And I mean, I agree. I mean, definitely. But, you know, like you said, that's the nature of politics, people slinging mud, you know, and people focusing on attacking the character of the person that they're going against rather than highlighting their own integrity. You know, that's really what politics should be about. I hate when people tell me why I shouldn't vote for somebody else instead of telling me why I should vote for you, because really that's what I need to know. I really need to know why you're qualified. I really need to know why you're important, you know? And so right. I'm really, really grateful for her stepping up in the midst of all of that. You know, I pray that she is encouraged and fortified in the midst of all of this mess, you know, which honestly is nothing new for her. She's been dealing with it before, you know, she's dealing with it again. And I just hope she's up for the battle, for the long run, you know. So I'm glad that you shouted her out. We definitely support her. We definitely are excited about her in this campaign, and you know, look forward to seeing what God has for her. So for real, good stuff.
So you want to tell them about the Becoming Eva challenge for this week?
I will. We actually kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to challenge each and every person, regardless of what kind of year 2020 has been for you. I've seen memes and posts where people are like, you know, take me back to 2019 or fast forward to 2021. But I genuinely believe for every person, whether this has been your best year or your worst year, that there is something that God wants you to get right now in this moment, you know. And so my BE challenge, or our BE challenge, is for you to find one thing. It could be a habit, or it could be a perspective or a mindset shift that has happened during 2020 that you want to carry forward into the future, you know, whatever it is. And I want you to highlight it. I want you to post it. You can tag us at Becoming Eva. We're at Becoming Eva today on Facebook, and Becoming Eva, one word, on Facebook. We're at Becoming Eva today on Twitter and Instagram. But post it, share it, because I don't want anyone to feel like this time that we're in is a waste of time. God doesn't waste anything. So highlight what it is that you want to carry forward. If it's a habit or a mindset or a perspective, whatever it is you want to carry forward. That is our BE challenge for this week.
Yes. And next week, we're going to be discussing how to quarantine-proof your relationships with special guest, Dr. Cassandra Bolar.
Yay, she's coming back.
Yes. I don't know if you guys remember her from the first season, but she dropped so many gems and nuggets. And I'm sure she's going to be giving us lots of advice next week, so you don't want to miss it. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on the podcast app. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook at Becoming Eva. That's one word. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today.
And that's all. We'll see you soon.